Rock, Paper, Pencil, your daily dose of tabletop and traditional gaming goodness. And today we've got a little something different. I'm going to do another review here. Now, normally, I would think that it's in bad form to review something that you don't really like, or that you're going to end up bashing, especially when it comes to tabletop role-playing games, because people put a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of money into these, and I just normally would say it's bad form to get online and bash them. Because, in my opinion, every game has its merits. Now, every game will have its downfalls, don't get me wrong, but every game has its merits in some way, form, or fashion. Now, the one I'm reviewing today is kind of a hot button topic, and a lot of people like to bash on it. That is Rifts, by Palladium Books, written by Kevin Symbieta. Now, Rifts, I hate Rifts. But not for the reasons most people think that I hate Rifts. What Rifts is it's a game set on Earth in debatably the far-flung future, where there was a great cataclysm and rifts opened to all sorts of parallel universes, parallel worlds, all sorts of things. And they came aliens, creatures, magic, all sorts of stuff flooded into Earth and caused a lot of change. Rifts has no concept of a power curve, but Rifts does have the ability to really play whatever you want, from a bar wench to a cybernetically enhanced psychic knight to a wizard that blasts music through a boombox held upon his shoulder, destroying people's eardrums, to a cowboy riding a T-Rex through the open plains, to a vampire, to a werewolf, to a dwarf, to an elf, to any of these crazy things. If you think it exists. The last time I actually looked at it, between all of the racial classes and occupational classes, which each are different, more or less your classes in the game, there's somewhere around 500 to 600, and within them you have skills and all of these things that are going to make you your own perfect little snowflake character, your unique as everyone else character. Now, Rifts falls through in a lot of places, and it falls through in a lot of the same places where other Palladium books fall through. The problem is the change in damage. Rifts actually includes books, which I don't happen to have hard copies of those here right now. I actually borrowed this hard copy from a friend of mine. He let me use it for the show today. But Rifts has full conversion guides for every single one of Palladium Books' other game lines, for transferring your characters from that game line to Rifts. And it doesn't work very well. Things that were kind of powerful in other settings become incredibly powerful in Rifts. And things that were incredibly powerful in other settings, in some settings, such as the Dead Rain setting, or the Palladium Fantasy setting, or in some cases, they're more humanistic settings, referred to as an SDC setting, a standard damage setting, become incredibly underpowered. that sword you had in Palladium Fantasy that could literally rend castles in twain, all of a sudden can't kill your average Joe Blow Glitter Boy. Now, first we're going to look at production quality. Oddly enough, Palladium's production quality has gone up in recent years. They've started releasing hardbacks again instead of just paperbacks. Their artwork, in a lot of cases, is very 80s-esque. The color stuff, anyway, is very 80s-esque. Outside of their covers, I've always thought their covers looked really cool. Just an example of some of the images. Once again, I don't own any of these. I'm using these for review purposes only. If you could see those through the shitty camera that I'm using. To some of these really cool black and white images that they happen to have. The artwork really ranges and varies book to book, page to page, as to what's cool, what's not. There's a lot of text, a whole lot of text and charts. It's your very standard, just black text, white paper type of production quality. The layouts are really poor. I'm sure that when they were publishing the setting, the layouts made sense to them, but to the person just picking up the book, the layouts don't really make sense. Everything's in a weird spot. I believe. Let me look. No. There's no index, at least in this book. I don't think any of them really have an index, which to me that's horrible. I think that every book, especially a role-playing game, should have an index. It makes things, looking for things at the table and looking for things when you're creating characters and stuff, way easier. Now, as for, with Rifts at least, the quality of their content varies a lot book to book. Sometimes it adds new classes that just are awful. Once again, there is no power curve, so at times you're going to have someone playing a character in a session that's ridiculously overpowered. But for presentation's sake, on each and every book in the line, okay would, I guess, be the functional, barely, but still functional, would be what I'd say for it. There are a lot of typos. Very little editing seems to be done in these books. A lot of typos, a lot of incomplete stat blocks. A good example, I believe, is in Rifts Africa. And in Rifts Africa, there is a race that's statted out that's a really cool race. Really cool, would have a lot of role-playing value at least. But they go through the whole description of the race and set it up as a player racial character class, and then never stat it out. So you never get to use it, and as far as I know to this day, as of a Google search at the time of doing this video, there is not any errata for it. There is not a single published, legit by the company stat block for this race. And I believe it's one of the dwarves. That was actually something that was pointed out to me by a friend who actually owns most of these books in hard copy, because he really does like the setting. And I will get to some good things about Rifts here in a few moments. Now, for playability and core mechanics, there's a big problem here. combat takes way, way, way too long. As I said before, there was some of their more humanistic settings are called SD settings, standard damage settings. Rifts is a mega damage setting. If I remember correctly, 1 mega damage is equal to 1,000 standard damage. So when you have that barbarian from Palladium Fantasy that comes through a rift into the middle of a war-torn zone in the American Southwest, or the Old West, or anything like that, for every 1,000 hit points or armor points he or she has, because it's all standard damage, that's 1 mega damage. Now, for most things that actually come into play through rifts, just the core rifts, characters, weapons, armors, and all that, most of those are mega damage. So unless your character has well over 1,000 hit points, a single shot from a laser gun or a single shot from anything is going to kill him. A single punch from a cyber knight, gonna kill him. Just outright. There's no save, no nothing. Just boom, you're dead. And that's if you can get through the hours of combat that it would take to do that, because of the parry system and because of the ability to burn actions in advance to parry things coming at you. There was a session that I did not have the benefit of playing in, but I did get to sit in on a couple of times because I had a lot of friends playing in it. They just didn't really have a spot for me to play at the table. And I did hear about it a lot secondhand, where at one point a single combat took a full 8.5 hour long gaming session. A single combat. This wasn't some mass warfare thing. This was the player group met an ambush at a crossroads, and it took 8.5 hours to resolve. That's insane. The magic system is a little wonky, in my personal opinion, depending on how it rolls. Even when you're not trying to power game, it does get a little broke. Once again, the damage system, depending on how you're rolling with it, can be really broke. Then there comes the skill system. Because something that, at least myself growing up, I thought I wanted in a game to be very prevalent, until I got to Rifts and the other Palladium books. And in their standard damage settings, it's not that big of a deal. But in the mega damage settings, it's awful. Is that your skills will actually go back and affect your stats. Physical skills especially. You taking boxing will improve your strength and agility and how many attacks you get per round. Makes sense for you to be a boxer, but the problem is that all of these bonuses stack. So your bonuses from weightlifting, your bonuses from swimming, your bonuses from jogging, your bonuses from boxing, your bonuses from military training, your bonuses from this, that, and the other, all of them stack together. And it's a power gamer's wet dream. It really is. If you have a group that is a lot of power gamers, and you don't mind combat taking so long that you kind of just want to eat a gun, Rifts may be a good game for you to try out. I'm not saying you're going to play it very long. Try out. Now, even a broken, beat, shot, shit on clock is right twice a day. And there are a couple of things that Palladium Books gets really right with not only Rifts but their other books, and I may do reviews later on of other books and other games, but right now we're just sticking to Rifts. Is the setting. The setting is awesome. It's really cool. It's really well fleshed out. It's really solid. It's got a lot of good ideas. It's just got really poor implementation, in my opinion. Um, the setting is a place where it sounds like it would be a really cool place to play a game. That's actually the. I have attempted to run Rifts once, and I have attempted to play in Rifts once. And in both cases, I was sold on the setting. Um, because anybody who likes Rifts won't will just fail to mention all of the bad things about it and the mechanics that make it nigh unplayable. And we'll just go into the setting and make it sound so cool. And it does. It really is awesome. I recommend checking out Palladium Books. They do have some really cool settings. However, with the mechanics, it makes it really hard to do. The other thing that Palladium Books gets right, especially with Rifts, is the role-playing. This is a role-playing game. I really do believe that these mechanics, this structure that barely work, are there, and they work so poorly because they didn't think that people would use them. They didn't think that people would need them that often. I really think that that's what happened here. I think it was a miscommunication between the developers and their demographic. But the role playing is really solid. It's really good. I would hazard to say, as for a role playing experience, it would probably be one of the most fun times I could have at a table, because it could be anything from anywhere, and it fits in and it works. And you get a lot of player growth and character growth through it. The problem is that if you have even a percentage, even a modicum of power gamer within you or anyone sitting at the table, it's going to fall apart. Because it's fine for role-playing's sake when you've got a gambler from the New West who's just a gambler. He's just got a little pea-shooter pistol, and he's good at gambling and lying and stuff, and you've got a glitter boy who's in this 10-15 foot tall mech that's got a cannon on his shoulder so large that to fire it he has to launch pylons into the ground and have jet thrusters compensate for the recoil, or he goes flying back. A cyber knight who is wanting nothing more than justice and peace in the world, and a techno wizard who combines technology and magic in a way that makes all of these crazy new things. Having those players in a party together and working together and getting things done, at least on a social and political front, works great. The problem is that when someone's a power gamer in this setting, it goes south and it goes really wonky and goes sideways really fast. But outside of those things, it is a great setting. And if you've got a group of hardcore role players that are that just need mechanics there as a vehicle to sit around the table, as a reason to sit around the table and role play, I would honestly say this would probably be a good book for you. It'd be a decent game for you. But if any of them just want to get in, roll some dice, hack some things apart, and be the best there is at cutting people in half, if that's all they want, don't play it. Don't touch it. Don't look at it. I'll give Rifts a solid 5 out of 10. It's not the worst game I've ever picked up by any means. I've picked up some much, much worse games. It's not the best game I've ever picked up at all. I would say it is very mediocre. It balances itself out with the ability to do some really solid role-playing and some really fleshed out characters, really. It balances that in and of itself, and the world balances out the fact that the mechanics are a serious problem. You could house rule the mechanics all day long, and you could work on making them house ruled so that they're a little better. I'm not going to say don't pick it up. It's a really cool setting, and it is a good setting to mine for ideas. To just have the book to mine for ideas. have you ever played Rifts? Just asking out there to those on the internet, have you ever played Rifts, looked at Rifts, read Rifts, had any Rifts experiences? If you have, leave them in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching. If you got any questions, comments, cuss words, leave them below. I will get back to you. I promise. As long as they're intelligent. If they're just dumb, I'm probably not even gonna bother. Till next time. As always, keep rolling.